Bloodborne, issue number 1. This is by Titan Comics, and it is based off of the Bloodborne video game. Anyone who doesn't know about Bloodborne, basically it is a faster paced version of Dark Souls, set in a Victorian Gothic setting with Lovecraftian elements thrown in. It's also by the same people who did Dark Souls. So, I like Bloodborne. Awesome game. Very cool and rich lore. However, anyone who's played Dark Souls, or anyone who hasn't, I can kind of explain this a little bit. The storytelling in Bloodborne is similar to Dark Souls, and for anyone who hasn't played Dark Souls, the storytelling in Dark Souls is basically very non-linear and also very I don't want to say abstract. It's kind of hard to explain, but very minimalist in a sense. I guess in how it presents itself. There's not really a lot of cutscenes. The cutscenes don't really dump you. They're not like info dumps. They're basically just like, look how bad this monster is, kind of thing. Um, all the story is basically told through. You got to piece it all together. I guess is the best way to explain it. There'll be story elements if you pick up items, you can look at the items and it'll give like a brief like 1 or 2 cents about the history of the item. You have to basically there's one part where you come across this little girl who's hiding in her house and she has like this music box, and then later on you find this priest who had murdered his wife, and if you play the music box it affects him, and then you think, oh, okay, so this priest is that little girl's dad. Everything is like it's there, but you gotta really like play detective and piece it all together. So I was kind of wondering, okay, how exactly are they gonna tell a story, like with the comic book? Because the comic book is very like narrative. It's not one of those where you can't do the same story structure that you do in the video game for the comic. It's not gonna work. So I was very interested to see how they would do that. This comic has me intrigued. Yeah, I would say that. Let's go into details. First off, the cover is pretty cool. Not really all that detailed. I would like it to be a little bit more detailed, but it is very eye-catching. Just the whole, hunter standing on top of a bunch of corpses kind of sets the tone. So then we start off with the classic Bloodborne pose, and basically our main character is talking about how he's awake again, and he's like, am I awake? This is not my first time. Like, everything here seems kind of deja vu-ish for him. We're gonna find out why. So we see him getting attacked by infected hunters, and he makes quick work of them. I really like the setting, like the whole, like you got the statues with like people like wrapped up in like medical straps rather than the gargoyles. Like, that's the one thing that I really loved about the Bloodborne video game. Just the whole setting, and then you throw in the whole Lovecraft elements, and it just raises it up a notch. But yeah, this comic is very action heavy and very little on story, or at least with dialogue, which is kind of an interesting change because lately it seems like, I don't know, especially with Marvel, but even other comics I've been reading, it seems like there's just so much dialogue in everything that I read nowadays, or it's like almost like 70% of every panel is just like covered in dialogue, and it takes forever to get through a comic. I literally got through this comic in like less than 5 minutes, like not even, because it's very very low on the dialogue, very low on any narrative boxes. Everything is just kind of told through panels, and a lot of this is more of just action. So basically, I will be skimming through a lot of this because, yeah, it's basically just a hunter going around killing a bunch of beasts, all the while, talking, lamenting the fact that like he's confused on what's going on. Like, everything, like, this has all been done before. He comes across this cathedral that's burning, and he tells them to open up the gate and get the hell out of there. And someone inside says, "No, hunter, why don't you get inside? Your fate won't wait forever." So he goes inside, and he discovers a bunch of other hunters that are not infected. I guess maybe I can explain a little bit of the backstory of the Bloodborne video game. So basically, there's this city. Oh, damn, I can't believe I'm blanking on the name of the city. So inside the city, there's this thing called pale blood that can basically like cure any disease, any infection. And the main character has arrived to like learn more about this thing. And then along the way, he comes across like other people. Some people are still safe, but some people are like not infected, but everyone is like a little crazy in the head. Like it's kind of hard to trust anyone in the game, because like anyone can be infected. Yeah, basically there are these hunters, and there's this like event called the hunts, and what happened was where they go around and they hunt monsters and beasts, but eventually the hunters became infected, and they still do the hunts, but now they hunt anything down, including like normal humans. Yeah, the hunter basically, I'm just gonna call our main character the hunter. He arrives inside the cathedral where there's a bunch of other hunters, and then the guy in charge. Basically, he's gonna say like the true monsters are the hunters, like the hunt itself. So yeah, he introduces him to this child who has pale blood, and pale blood it's kind of hard to make sense of what pale blood is. Pale blood is kind of a MacGuffin in the Bloodborne. It's the whole reason why the main character arrives at the town, because the pale blood can like cure infections and stuff like that, or at least that's what he hears. Basically, the main character actually arrives at the town to like, get more information on this whole pale blood and what it is, because there's rumors that it can cure like any infection and disease and stuff like that. So yeah, the pale blood can mean a couple things. It can mean the moon presence. Moon presence is an elder god, or what the game refers to as the Great Ones. But anyone who's familiar with Lovecraft mythos, basically think of the Great Ones as the elder gods. And the moon presence is basically like an elder god made of like human flesh and bone and stuff. So some people think that pale blood is another name for the moon presence. Some people think pale blood is the name of the blood of the Great Ones, or the Great Ones' kin. Some think that pale blood is the monsters that come from the moon presence. It's very vague. The game doesn't really explain what pale blood is, other than the fact that it's rare and it's very valuable. So yeah, this kid basically has pale blood inside him, which again I thought this was kind of weird, because again pale blood is very vague. It's basically a MacGuffin in the video game, but in this comic they're literally translating pale blood as blood itself. Whereas, like I just explained in the video game, pale blood, you don't really know what it is. It could be blood, it could not be blood, it could actually just be a name for an entity. It could be, it's very vague. The game doesn't really give answers on what exactly this pale blood is. But basically, this kid has pale blood, and this hunter is tasked with protecting the child. But before anything can happen, the cathedral gets attacked. So our main character tells the child to hide, and he goes out to battle the monsters that are coming in. So we get more fights. That's basically how this whole issue is gonna go. If you want a lot of action, and you like Victorian era settings with Lovecraftian undertones, then yeah, you'll probably enjoy the heck out of this comic. So yeah, so then the hunter comes across this creature who, at first I was thinking maybe it's a bloodlicker. Bloodlicker is an enemy in the game, except for the fact that this creature does not have the blood sac or pouch, or however you want to explain it. I mean the whole bony appearance, bony frame, and then the, I don't want to say hair, but whatever it is covering its face gives it like a bloodlicker appearance, but it's not a bloodlicker. Then I was like, maybe it's a witch of Hemrick, but there's no, like the Witch of Hemrick kind of looks somewhat similar, but it's also covered in a bunch of eyeballs, which this thing is. So I don't know what this creature is. I don't know if it's in the video game. It looks familiar, but I don't know. Maybe it's like an original thing. I don't know if anyone who's played the game can explain can name me what this creature is. Because like I said, it's not a bloodlicker and it's not a Witch of Hemrick, but it does kind of have a little bit of both. It could be maybe just a comic original. But yeah, basically the main character is like you again. So yeah, it looks like our main character has fought this creature before. So he battles the creature, slashes at it, but then his weapon gets stuck, and the creature takes advantage by vomiting on the guy. And I guess it's vomit is like acid, because then we see the hunter and his skin and flesh is all burned off, while the child kind of watches on. And then we get the classic "you died" which anyone who's played Bloodborne, you're gonna see that message a lot. So then the hunter wakes up in the hunter's dream, which is also from the video game. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's basically it's like this place where the hunter goes when you first die, and it kind of operates as the almost like the hub. It's kind of like the fire shrine at in Dark Souls and stuff like that. It's basically where you go to trade weapons, to upgrade yourself and your items. Basically, this is like the area where you level up, the area where you can trade and buy items, and the level where you can fast travel. Lamps, that's what they are. You have to light lamps. Jesus, I can't believe. Okay, so yeah, you have to light lamps in these areas, and then you can fast travel to them from the hunter's dream. And inside the hunter's dream, there's a character called the plain doll, and basically she's like a doll given life, and she's who you talk to level up and stuff like that. And she's like a very sweet character. She's like one of the one of the few innocent, generous characters in the game. So yeah, she's basically just kind of, she's almost like a servant to your guy. Like she's willing to she's like, what do you desire? Like she's there to help you. Our main character desires to sleep forever. I guess he wants to die for good. And then we get Gurman, who is like a master hunter. He was actually the very first hunter ever. He doesn't hunt anymore because he's crippled. But yeah, he basically tells our main character, like, if you wish to sleep forever, then you have to seek the pale blood to transcend the hunts. The hunt is I can't really explain the hunt in such a short time, but the hunt is very important to the lore of the game, and the Bloodborne universe. I would highly recommend just checking out Wikipedias and stuff on this game, even if you don't ever want to play it, if it's not your kind of game. Just look up like the story and the lore. The lore itself is just fascinating. Like, I love it. I can spend hours just reading up on all this stuff. But yeah, so our main character leaves the hunter's dream, and then he's back at the beginning again. Does it ever end? Am I awake again? Am I awake? So basically, he's repeating the same stuff that happened in the beginning. So now we kind of get this whole like Groundhog's Day, where it's like, how many times has this guy gone through this event? Like, it's gotten to the point now where he's like he's just kind of going through the motions, because he's done this so many times. And then he comes across the cathedral, he meets the hunters, he meets the pale blood kid, and then he's like, all right, kid, we're going on a journey. Like, the hunters leave out to go fight the monsters, and then rather than helping in the fight, which he did last time and got himself killed, he leaves with the boy. I'm just going to call it the child, because I'm not sure exactly if it's supposed to be a boy or a girl. But he leaves with the child, and that's how the issue ends. I kind of liked how they played up with the fact that in Bloodborne, death isn't the end. There is no game over when you die. Dying and coming back is actually a mechanic in the game. So I like how they introduced us in this comic by having this character basically being like this Groundhog's Day, where he keeps going through the same events, and he doesn't know if he's dreaming or if he's awake, and he just wants to die. So yeah, that was Bloodborne issue number 1. I'm a little wary just because I did read a little bit of the Dark Souls comics, and I think it's by the same publishers. Yeah, it's by the same publishers. It's also by Tines. And the Dark Souls comics were kind of lame. And again, like I said earlier, I'm also kind of wary of the fact that the whole narrative structure for Bloodborne and Dark Souls and all that stuff is very very unique. So it's interesting to see how they're going to play that off in a comic, because they can't do the same story structure because it's two different mediums. So yeah, that was issue number 1. I liked it. If you like a lot of action, like a lot of fights, I mean, that's basically what this whole comic is. So yeah, I liked it. I'm going to keep reading. I will read the second issue, and seeing how the second issue goes, I might keep continuing with it. If the second issue is like completely terrible, I'm going to drop it altogether. If the second issue is okay, then I'll give it a third comic, third issue, to see how it goes. But yeah, I enjoy this. Not, I mean, it wasn't like fantastic or anything, but it has my attention, I guess I can say. And as a fan of the Bloodborne video game, I didn't feel like this hurt the game in any way. It didn't seem like a quick cash grab, I guess, if that makes any sense. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys all next time. Later.